We'll be going over IRS Notice CP177. This is a notice that you might receive from the IRS if your business is being notified of an intent to seize or levy your property. So we'll go through this notice. We'll talk about what it means and what you need to do and what some of your options might be in this case. Before we begin with the meat of the notice, let's take a look at a couple things at the top of the letter. So in the upper right hand corner, you'll see the notice number, CP177. You'll see the notice date. In this case, it's January 23rd, 2019. The taxpayer ID number, which looks like an employer identification number, and then a contact phone number. So the notice date is especially important in this case because the IRS is expecting you to take corrective action. And if you don't respond within a certain period of time, they will start seizing property. And we'll talk about what that means in just a second. On the left-hand side, your business name, address, city, state, and zip code. So the first thing you should do is make sure that your information is correct. If your information is incorrect, if you've recently changed your business location, for example, if you've recently moved, you're going to want to update your address with the IRS, mainly so that your communications is that much faster and that you don't have property that's seized because your communication got hung up in the mail. So the IRS doesn't care that your notices get hung up in the mail because you changed your address. They're going to hold you accountable, and this is kind of a higher stakes type issue. So let's take a closer look. So the IRS hasn't received full payment for unpaid federal taxes. Looks like you owe right now $5,947.81. That consists of $3,000 of the original tax, plus a failure to pay penalty, plus interest charges. And so you do have certain appeal rights. You can request what's known as a collection due process hearing. So let's go through the tax form. And by the way, you have until this date to respond. So for this notice, it looks like within 30 days of the original notice. So as always, the IRS will allow you to make payment. You can pay the full amount if you agree with the assessment or if you don't want to move this forward in the collections process. You can make a check out for the full amount payable to the United States Treasury. You should write your taxpayer ID number and the tax period on your correspondence or on your payment, and then any correspondence that you accompany this payment with. So whether it's a check or a money order, you should write the business name, taxpayer ID number, and the tax period. So use this address here as the mailing address. Most of the time it should be the same as the letterhead, but I have seen notices where the payment voucher address is different from the address in the letterhead. So be mindful of that. So here is what you need to do immediately. A, send the amount due, or B, the IRS is going to start collecting on property on or after this due date. So if you can't pay the amount due, then pay what you can. Make payment arrangements so you can go to the IRS website and look up different ways to do that. You can request an installment agreement. There may be forms involved in that, but you can start with the IRS website, and a lot of taxpayers are able to initiate an installment agreement automatically through the IRS website for certain low dollar threshold taxes. So, for a couple $1,000, you can probably set up your payment agreement on the IRS website. You might even be able to do it for free in that you won't be charged a fee, but you will still continue to pay penalties and interest on the outstanding amounts until they're all paid in full. If you can't pay any money, you can at least request what's known as a collection due process hearing. So this is the formal appeal process for a proposed levy action. So if you file this by February 22nd, in this case, then the collections process is halted as long as you're continuing through the appeals process. And the appeals process can start at the IRS level administratively, and then you do have options to pursue legal remedy through what's known as the U.S. Tax Court. If you don't file your collection due process notice form 12153 by the due date, then you lose the ability to contest any appeals decision in tax court. So the collection due process hearing technically is what is available to taxpayers that file within that timeline. And then an equivalent hearing provides similar rights, but fewer of them if for some reason you don't make that timeline. So for certain tax debts, seriously delinquent tax debt, which is, I believe, $55,000 or above, the State Department is actually required by law to either not issue a passport, not renew a passport, and you could be held up at customs if you're trying to flee the country. So this is part of a law that Congress passed in 2015 specifically to crack down on people fleeing the country with massive amounts of tax debt. So $52,000 as of the time of this notice generation, but this was 2019. I do think that dollar amount is a little bit higher. So if the IRS doesn't hear from you, they will start seizing property. This could include wages or other income. They could seize money from your bank accounts. They can seize business assets. Under certain circumstances, they can seize personal assets. They can divert your state tax refunds, Social Security benefits. If you're a resident of the state of Alaska, your permanent fund dividend, all of these are subject to garnishment or levy or seizure by the IRS. They're not going to claim your entire paycheck, but they will claim assets to the extent that you're paying off your tax bill. So they're not going to come in and start collecting $10,000 off of this. They'll collect enough to pay off this, and then any additional penalties and interest that might accrue on top of that. So here's a line that basically outlines your billing details. This obviously is not a realistic picture right here, but it would say this is the amount of tax you owed, this is the amount of interest, this is the amount of penalties, and then it would have a total here based on Form 1040, which we know is not the case since it's employer identification number, so it'd most likely be some sort of business tax return. Here's some verbiage on how the IRS calculates penalties based on failure to pay. You can request a reduction or a removal of penalties under a variety of different programs. One, if you've requested tax advice on a particular situation from the IRS, if you requested that in writing, if you gave the IRS accurate and adequate information, if you received a written opinion from the IRS, which you then used for your tax return, if you incur a penalty based on that, you can request abatement on IRS Form 843. If you had what's considered reasonable cause, so that would be a family member's death, serious illness or injury, or if you lost your financial records due to a natural disaster, that could be a reason. And the tax code actually allows the IRS to remove penalties under what's known as a first-time abatement. So if you meet certain criteria, such as you're current on all of your tax returns and you this is the first time you've ever owed a penalty, or if this is the first time in a series of tax years, you could be eligible for a first-time abatement. So all of those would be on IRS Form 843. We'll put links in the show notes to certain forms, the resources we've created on certain forms in the form of articles and videos that will help you walk through those. Interest charges, it's a little bit less straightforward to abate interest, but if you are successful in reducing either a tax or a penalty, the IRS will recalculate your interest based on the amount that you should have paid instead of the amount that you were actually billed. So if you are successful in abating a penalty, like for example up here, it looks like there is a pretty significant amount of penalty. The interest would probably be knocked down based on however much interest was applied to that. So you won't see a complete reduction because you still have interest that accrued on that amount that you owed, but you would see a reduction in the interest based on that failure to pay penalty. And then there's some additional resources on the back page. Let's take a look at this just to see if we have left anything uncovered. So you can request a payment plan online. You can submit an offer in compromise, and you can have your accountant or someone else complete this under a power of attorney. You would complete IRS Form 2848 to do that. So these frequently asked questions, it looks like we kind of covered them already, so there's not a whole lot left here. Basically, the point of this is the IRS is saying, please pay up. You've kind of gone on long enough, and if we don't see something happening really soon within the next month, we're going to start seizing assets. So definitely take this one seriously, and do what you can. So even if it's just communicating to the IRS to buy yourself some time, if it's appealing the seizure because you feel like you've got a tax position that the IRS has disagreed with, you can do all of those things if you take action. So that's all we have for this video. As I mentioned, we'll put links in the show notes to articles and videos that we've created about some of the forms mentioned here. So if you like our articles, please subscribe to our newsletter. If you like our YouTube videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, or if there's another topic that you'd like to see in an upcoming video, please hit us up in the comment section. Thank you very much and have a great day.